Thank you, Katie. Yes, indeed, alternative accommodations and technology is our topic here for the next 15 minutes. And thank you for tuning in, joining us, everyone in the audience. It's a pleasure that you're joining us. And stay tuned for 15 minutes. I have a special guest joining us remotely. And it's my absolute pleasure to introduce to you Patrick Andrae, founder and CEO at HomeToGo.
Hello, nice to meet you.
There, I can see you. Hi, Patrick. Good to see you. How are you?
Oh, okay.
Okay.
So I have to take it, unfortunately, virtual. I'm very fit, although I have caught Corona, unfortunately. So that's why I have to do it virtual.
Yeah, that was negative news. You're positive, but you look good. And I'm glad you make it. And so I appreciate you joining us now. A few words about HomeToGo to kick this off, because I'm sure many are familiar with HomeToGo by now. I mean, you made some news in the past 2, 3, 4 years, but let me summarize a bit about it. So for everyone who is not familiar with HomeToGo, HomeToGo is a marketplace for alternative accommodations and is connecting millions of travelers who are searching for the perfect place to stay, and they connect them with thousands of inventory suppliers of all kinds across the globe. I think you're operating in 25 countries. Is that correct?
Yeah, we have around 25 localized websites and apps.
Right. Right, that sounds good. And to summarize that, you basically have the world's most comprehensive inventory coverage for alternative accommodations. And I think you will explain a bit more about this in a bit. And well, if we look at the space of alternative accommodations, right, that's a hot buzzword that also entered other areas of the industry. So also in the hotel industry, for example, alternative accommodations are frequently discussed. And it's a structural trend that we've seen already developing pre-COVID, but it seems that the pandemic actually even accelerated that. So would you fill us in a bit about that development and how you feel that came where we are today?
Yeah. Happy to. So vacation rentals have been already, as you said, right, like prior the crisis, the fastest growing travel vertical. Yeah, so have been growing faster than anything else that we have seen in travel. And with COVID-19, this growth basically only got accelerated. Yeah. So in the first place, obviously vacation rentals and alternative accommodation are a part of the accommodation space and also of the travel space that is rather domestic, is something where during the pandemic you can stay more safe, isolated in a, for instance, vacation rental on the seaside, and so on. So we saw a lot of people that were using vacation rentals or alternative accommodation for the first time as an option to go on vacation. And that's just one thing. It's also something that you can normally do very well with the family. It's also something that is normally more sustainable because it's more nearby. So you have a lot of these secular trends that are anywhere in there. And then on top, what came with the whole crisis was the loosening of policies from a lot of companies around remote work policies, also longer term. And this trend of workation, how we call it internally, is something that you can really see that people suddenly start using the classical vacation rental, not only for the vacation time, but also maybe in the shoulder seasons to do. Today it's nice in Berlin, but like if you look in January when it may be gray skies and raining and so on, that people go for a month to Portugal or something like this and spend the time there, not for vacation, but for workation, so to work remote. And all this together brings new people to the market, accelerating the growth and acceptance of this vertical, where you can see that basically alternative accommodation, as you said in your introduction, and vacation rentals have become a mainstream product. And what we see and believe, especially around the vacation topic, you will see that it's just the beginning of where we are, what we can see in terms of how people use this accommodation type in the future. And you have a lot of people that are educated now and that we will use it, which gives a lot of secular tailwinds to the whole industry. What you not only saw already during the crisis, where it was the most resilient travel vertical as well, as you might have seen also in our numbers with
Yes, I did.
growth records in 2021. Yeah, even in 2020, we had a higher, slightly higher gross booking volume that in 2019, and all of this is basically reflected and now coming out of the crisis. We will see like longer term effect that are positively affecting the whole industry.
Right, so there's a lot of potential, it seems, and exciting times ahead for alternative accommodations. And you just mentioned resilience, right? So speaking of resilience, and you mentioned also your own numbers. So you have quite a journey at HomeToGo, right? If you look at the years that you started, like 2014, you were founded. Then 2015, you were more known as a meta searcher for alternative accommodation. Then you pivoted kind of into an operating technology provider system, if that's right, or kind of. So you're more complex in your offering. And then in September 2021, in the middle of the pandemic, you were the first technology company in Europe to successfully de-SPAC, so an IPO facilitated by a SPAC company. So talk us through this briefly, Patrick. First of all, some people might not understand what a SPAC exactly means, like de-SPACing, what is this about, and what got you to this point, and what does the future look like for HomeToGo with, how does this actually change your future outlook?
Yeah, so a SPAC is a special acquisition company or corporation, which is basically, you could say, an empty shell that is there with only money and is listed on the stock market, and is aiming to merge or acquire another company that is by that being brought to the stock market. And that's what we did with the Lakestar SPAC 1, so also the first technology SPAC in Europe. And we completed that, as you just said, in September 2021. What are like the advantages? Obviously, afterwards, you're a listed company. Yeah, so we are listed at the stock exchange in Frankfurt, so the German main stock exchange, if you want to phrase it like this. And it obviously gives a lot of money to the company. So we had proceeds of 250 million out of that kind of de-SPAC transaction. So when the SPAC merges with a company like ours, and that we can use for organic growth, but also for M&A and other opportunities that we might see occurring in the time. And we believe it was exactly the right thing to do at that point in time when we decided making this step towards the stock market.
Right, exciting. And I'm looking forward to see your growth and see who you are deciding to add to your portfolio. That's interesting. And then, as I mentioned initially, you're a tech provider in the end, right? It's a technology platform. So let's shift a bit to the topic of technology itself. And it's interesting to understand for our audience, I guess, to understand how HomeToGo really is accelerating the alternative accommodation ecosystem, and how are you improving the experience for guests, but also for the suppliers, like the ones offering the homes on your platform. And how are you doing this through your own technology? How does that work?
Yeah, I think like in the first place, it's important. You mentioned our journey, right? Mm-hmm. Like so, we started in the beginning as a meta search for vacation rentals, and then we soon realized that for a lot of our partners, it's important to provide them with a better way that people can book their properties. Yeah, because as a meta search, you link people out to a third-party platform, and if this platform doesn't have the brand or technology to convert these people, it's obviously a competitive disadvantage in the meta search engine. So that's why we decided to, or like we knew that rather from the beginning, but like that's why we improved that kind of conversion by offering like what we call on-site transactions on HomeToGo, so where the customer not leaves the website of HomeToGo anymore, but books actually and finds and books the vacation rental directly on HomeToGo from partners all around the world. And especially normally the smaller the partner is, we see like a higher kind of conversion rate and higher kind of bookings due to that, having them on our platform, with people like switching to that technology, having instantly more than 10 times or around 10 times the bookings. And this helps people obviously, or helps suppliers getting more conversions in those bookings from HomeToGo. And this was just the start. Yeah. So like what we do for the supply side on top is also we provide other technology solutions to them. So we provide and will keep providing various topics where they can have access to our technology, to our data, to our supply. And for instance, we have a small tool that's called Smoobu, which you can, as a homeowner, like list your properties on various platforms and keep like prices and availabilities up to date.
So like a channel manager.
Yeah, exactly. Where you're not only like can keep something for your own, but also like helping the homeowner basically to have these things updated and synced. But on the other side, also helping the platforms that are connected, for instance, like Airbnb, Booking, VRBO, Expedia, that they have better up-to-date data and more supply. So, and this is what we do on the supply side, and try to add all of these kind of services that we also like build up for our consumer marketplace to provide more of that to the supply side in various services that we can see are useful for the supply side.
Right, makes sense.
On the other side, you asked about the consumer. Yeah, obviously, like having the largest inventory globally is a big advantage in the first place. Yeah, we deduplicate this inventory, we make it more consistent, and there's a lot of things that we do on that side for the consumer to have a better overview on that side. But we also, during the pandemic, tried to fulfill basically what we are planning to give this guidance and overview to the consumer even better. So for instance, we already had something called a flexible search engine in 2015, where people can say, okay, I want to travel for 2 weeks within a range of 3 months. What is the best offer for me, like in terms of price and availability? And that obviously during the pandemic got a lot of additional search volume on that specific tool. Yeah, and this is just an example. Yeah, besides other things around COVID warnings, nearby searches, better accessibility to cancellation terms, and all these kind of things that we always constantly try to evolve. And even on short notice, when something like this, like the pandemic happened, that we always keep doing providing the right technology that can solve for the consumer in that part, but longer term also being something that we maybe can offer to our supply partners as additional technology tools.
Right, perfect. So we have 2 minutes left, and I have some more questions, but we won't be able to cover them. But I will make the try and give you 2 like quick-fire questions, and just give me a very brief answer on that. So, what is the biggest misunderstanding about HomeToGo?
Yeah, sometimes that we still being perceived as a meta search engine.
Right. Okay. And then
we are a marketplace that's basically enabled by technology services that we provide to the supply side.
Right. Understood. And what is one trend that no travel business should ignore at this very moment?
Yeah, I think I mentioned it already, workation.
Right, perfect. It was a pleasure talking to you, Patrick. I hope next time in person next to you, and I'm wishing you a quick and fast recovery. And thank you for joining us here today at ITB Berlin Convention. It was great to have you.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you. Bye. And I'm handing back to Katie. Thank you.